In today's video, we're going to be discussing Warhammer 40,000 lore. I know there's been a lot of confusion about the current timeline with Guilliman, the Lion, certain events, but I was lucky enough to speak to a Black Library author and get an actual response on what books take place where. So hopefully this video will help you and also give you some new information on what is going on currently in the 40k timeline. So let's jump in and let's get waffling. So with the announcement of the latest Dawn of Fire book, The Silent King, there was a lot of questions about where the narrative currently is, where it's about to go to. There was a lot of confusion. So I thought, who best to ask than the author, than the architect of all this, Guy Haley? And I did that. I went over onto X and I basically sent him a message and got a reply. So in the background right now, you can see the message I sent him. Nothing too overly complicated, just to really try and get some facts on what is going on in the current narrative and when it's going on. So I said, at Guy Haley, just a quick one, mate. The Dawn of Fire series takes place before the Plague Wars, right? Does the events of the Arks of Omen take place during the Plague Wars or before/after it? Thanks, mate. And the response that Guy Haley gave is a really interesting one. Again, I'll put it up in the background right now so you can read it along with me. The Dawn of Fire series goes directly into the Dark Imperium trilogy. My call books, which we'll jump into in a second, also linked to them both, happen after the Plague Wars. As for Arks of Omen, I'm currently trying to figure out that myself. So the Arks of Omen stuff we'll get onto in a second. Let's just focus on the Dawn of Fire series, the Plague Wars, and the call books for now. And there's even more responses from Guy Haley, which we'll get onto in a second. But firstly, I want to talk about the current timeline where we are. So the first big thing that you should be reading is probably the Dawn of Fire series. I'll put that image up in the background right now so you can see it. You got the Avenging Sun, the Gates of Bones, the Wolf Time, Throne of Light, the Iron Kingdom, the Martyr's Tomb, the Sea of Souls, the Hand of Abaddon, and of course the latest one which is about to come out, which is the last one in the series, and that is the Silent King. Now, myself and a lot of people were hoping that this is the book that would introduce Vashtor, the Lion, maybe some more big characters into that, but that is not the case because Guy Haley now has stated that this directly goes into the Plague Wars, and we know the Plague War series is Guilliman versus Mortarion, and there's absolutely no mention of the Lion in that at all. And this opens up the narrative that we kind of know what's going to happen now in that Silent King book, because it was mentioned briefly in a campaign book. And this is this piece of text, which I'm going to put in the background right now. Shout out to an ex-user called Shas'la Kais. I'll link them in the description of this video because they were a big help through this whole process as well. And as you can see with the text that's in the background, this is apparently what's going to happen in that Silent King novel. Of course, it's going to be more fleshed out, but it says, not long after the battle group Calidus entered the Nephilium sector, Guilliman led his own fleet against the Necrons there. However, thanks to the vagaries of the warp travel, the immensity of the region, and the effects of the Nephilium anomaly, the Primax forces entered the sector far from Calidus' position. They saw no signs of their lost battle group, because it does mention a lost battle group in that Silent King book, so that makes sense. Gillen's forces fought their own campaign deep into the contested region, but before they could consolidate their position, they were called away. Ultramar was attacked, the Plague Wars had begun, leaving forces to continue the fight in the anomaly. Guilliman pulled into many directions at once, departed to face the new threat. So again, that all makes sense. So what is probably going to happen in this Silent King book, Guilliman's going to go there, have a little bit of a fight with the Necrons. He's probably not gonna fight the Silent King. Maybe he will. Again, this is not fully fleshed out here, but the ending of it is going to be Guilliman being pulled away, and he's going to go to the Plague Wars to fight Guilliman, and then that enters that book series. So this is where the Dawn of Fire series ends now, and then you jump then to the Plague Wars. But then there's questions, well, where does the Devastation of Baal fit in? Because we know Guilliman turned up at the end of the day, saved the Blood Angels and gave them the Primaris gene seed, and Guy Haley again answers this. I'll put up in the background right now so you can read it along with me. Guy Haley says, remember that the Devastation of Baal takes place out of sync because of the temporal disruption caused by the opening of the Great Rift. We don't like to make it easy, do we? Question mark. So technically the events of the Devastation of Baal happen during the Great Rift, but because of time shenanigans, they're happening at the same time. Then Guilliman turns up when he does turn up. So let's just say the Devastation of Baal happens at the same time, but not at the same time as well because of time stuff. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that helped you out as well. But of course, we need to go back to the beginning and state the big question again, and it's all about the Arks of Omen. When does this take place? Because this is the potential now where we see two Loyalist Primarchs meeting up for the first time, Lion and Guilliman. And as Guy Haley stated, again, image in the background, he's still trying to figure out that for himself. But don't worry, there is a hero to the rescue. Again, this is Shas'la Kais, who's been helping me navigate this absolute bumpy mad road of 40k narrative and lore. Again, Games Workshop don't make it easier, and they stated that the Arks of Omen events coincide with the events of Warzone Nachman Rift War, Crusade Leviathan, and Crusade Pride Nexus. So the Arks take place after the Plague Wars. And then I asked them, how did you get that information? And they, again, gave me a bunch of information which I missed, which is kind of just hidden by Games Workshop. So they said, in the Arks of Omen Abaddon book, which is the starts with Abaddon scrying events all over the galaxy. One of the events, he sees Harkham emerging victorious in the Nachman Rift War, and he also shows glimpses of the Silent King and his Nexus. Abaddon realizes he has to do something about him at some point. After the Arks of Omen saga is finished, Vastor and his Black Legion allies invade the Prime Nexus and derail the ongoing war between the Imperials and the Necrons. While this is happening, Guilliman, having finished the Plague Wars, is speeding back to the Prime Nexus. This is the latest point in the timeline. This is covered in Crusade Pride Nexus. So this now is probably going to lead into a second series. And that series is probably going to see a showdown between, you know, Guilliman, the Necrons, Vastor, the Necrons, Abaddon's forces, the Necrons. There's rumours the Thousand Sons are going to be getting involved with the Necrons and all the warp shenanigans going on there. The Necrons fighting the Necrons because there's a Necron civil war going on. There's so much stuff that potentially could happen. I've done my best. I'm going to put the image up in the background right now to try and show you the current timeline / narrative event order of what's going on with the information that we've gathered over the course of this video. So you can see right at the start is the Dawn of Fire series. You could argue that some of Chris Wright's stuff, I think it's called Guardians of the Throne or something like that, which take place prior to this when the demons attack Terra, but I'm not going to get into that. So I'm just going to say Dawn of Fire series first. We know from Guy Haley that leads into the Plague War series, as you can see, with Guilliman fighting Mortarion and the forces of Nurgle. On top of that, connected to that at the same time, I'm going to put the Devastation of Baal because of all the warp shenanigans and the time desolation, should I say, and stuff like that. Then after that, we have the Lion, because we know the Lion book takes place before the Arks of Omen, because the Lion then actually meets up with the Blood Angels who take him to his sons in the rock, and it's the final showdown in the book called The Lion, where he meets the Dark Angels chapter, and he ends up beating Angron to death with his shield. Well, you know, he banishes Angron with his shield. And on top of that, let's say at the same time as well is the Call books added to that, because again, Guy Haley says the Call books happen after the Plague Wars, and that is the Great Work with Belisarius Call, and that is the Gene Father book as well. And yeah, the Rift War, the Tyrannic War, the Pride Nexus. Again, thanks to our Tau friend over on Twitter. Apparently that's all taking place at the same time, or around the same time as the Arks of Omen. And that leads into the next big story then, which we just don't know what that's... Well, we know that Guilliman's headed back to the Pride Nexus, and we don't know what's going to happen from then. big showdown, big Primarchs. Hopefully the Lion meets Guilliman. They can all link up. They can all be friends. They can give each other hugs again. Hopefully the Imperium's victorious. I doubt it. You know, they tend to end these things kind of like everyone kind of won in a certain way. Maybe the next big narrative where all this is going to take place is the next edition of Warhammer 40,000, 11th edition. I've been hearing some big things about that. Orcs, Space Wolves, all that kind of cool stuff. But I guess we'll have to just sit back and wait and see. I want to thank everyone who I've mentioned in today's video, Guy Haley especially, for actually answering me back. That is kind of unheard of these days from a Black Library author to get involved with the community and stuff. So massive shout out to him. Massive shout out to our Tau friend over on X. Again, I'll include all the links to all these profiles in the description of this video. So if you want to go and ask them any questions, hopefully they'll answer your questions. If you've got any questions, post it down below. If you think I've made a mistake or maybe something needs to be added into this image that I've just made, then post it down below and we can have a nice little talk down there. But I'm hoping that this diagram, the information in this video has given you maybe a way to read the series so it's smoother for you, so you can understand the lore a little bit better of what's been going on during this whole narrative of 40k since the Great Rift and the Primarchs and everything like that coming back. But anyway, thanks for coming, thanks for watching. Yeah, post anything down in the comment section if you've got a question, and I'll see you down there. Have a great day, and bye-bye.